Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, we are from Group 2 and we will present about food availability, security, accessibility, and sovereignty in the last decade in India. Before we start, I want to introduce my team. My name is Gabriela Ivana Permatasari from NIM 072, and my friends' name are Zuha Rafid Ulwan from 002, Firda Ayu Susanto from 153, and Rikha Aurel Gusti Aini from 159. Here is the introduction. First is the background.
First of all, we got the background. The background is divided into two factors, external factors and internal factors. We discuss about external first. External have two factors. There are COVID-19 is causing food shortage and price increase. And the second factor is climate change. There is reduced agricultural productivity and threatened farmer livelihoods. Okay, next into the internal factor. Internal factor have three factors. There are government policy, economic access, and globalization pressure. Okay, for the key challenge, there is no comprehensive study integrating domestic policies and India's position in global forum until policy implementation at the local level has received little attention. Next.
Next is the problem formulation. First is what are the food availability, security, accessibility, and sovereignty crisis in India? Second is how did India handle this crisis? And third is what are the solutions needed for this crisis? The purpose of the writing is first to find out the food security problems that have occurred in India over the last decade. Two is to find out how India dealt with the problem. And the last is to find out the solutions that are carried out in the future so that it doesn't recur.
Okay, the first of discussion is we discuss about geological influence. The crisis is fueled by extreme climate change, COVID-19, and global conflict. And then the climate change is causing extreme weather and crop damage. In 2023, India has solution to stopping export rice to maintain domestic supply. And next, and then the second one, we discuss about socio-culture influence. In India, Dalit are the most vulnerable to food security despite India being a large food producer. Factors that contributing to Dalit food security is limited economic access, social inequality, and unequal food distribution. Next.
All right, next is the political influence. India has been facing an internal food security crisis due to factors such as climate change, the COVID-19 pandemic, and famine. The situation was further aggravated after Russia's invasion of Ukraine on February 24, 2022. Russia and Ukraine are the world top producers of agricultural commodities after China and India, with major contributions to export of sunflower oil, wheat, and corn. However, due to the war, exports of agricultural products from both countries fell sharply, disrupting global food supplies. In this condition, India also became the world mainstay as a wheat supplier, although in the previous year, wheat production in India was estimated to have decreased, thus adding to the challenges for the country in maintaining food security. Next is the pandemic effects. The COVID-19 pandemic and the enforcement of movement restrictions have significantly affected household food security. This effect is evident in two primary ways. First, through fluctuation in food prices due to disruptions in supply chains, and second, through decreased household income as a result of rising unemployment and lost earnings. These factors have led to a decline in both food security and nutritional standards among families surveyed in the Jhansi and Lalitpur district of Bundelkhand compared to conditions before the pandemic.
Next is how India handling the situation. India strengthened food policy through NFSA and PMKKIA, take strong position at WTO to defend food subsidies, reform distribution, food diversification, and nutrition education. Focus on equality in food access and sustainability. Next.
Then the future solution. The future solution is modernize sustainable agriculture and then build storage and distribution infrastructure and optimize buffer stock and price control during food crisis and then reform from program NFSA and PMGKIA, and international cooperation for climate adaptive and food justice. And the next is expand social security and cash transfers for vulnerable group.
So the conclusion is India's food security challenge. First, there are climate change lead to extreme weather and unstable food production, and then vulnerable regions, for example, Bundelkhand, suffer severe food insecurity. Marginalized communities like Dalits face barriers to food access, and then global and health crisis impact. There are Russia-Ukraine war disrupt supply chains and increase global food price. COVID-19 pandemic reduced income for the poor. Lockdowns limited mobility and disrupt food distribution. And then national response and long-term outlook. India strengthened food policies through NFSA and PMKKIA. Assertive stance at WTO to defend food subsidies. Proposed reform like improve distribution system, diversify food production, empower small farmers, and promote food literacy and equality. Next.
And the next is education. The first is stricter national food distribution as a NFSA and PMGKIA. And next is provide protection for small farmer. And then diversity food production and build a food system resilient to pandemic, global crisis and conflict. And then defend food sovereignty in international forum. And then improve nutrition education and food literacy for vulnerable group. And the last is synchronize climate and food policies for long-term resilience. And next, this is our reference we use. Okay, thank you for your attention.